Gaiares is a scrolling shoot 'em up made by Telenet Japan for the Sega Mega Drive in 1990. It's a scrolling shoot 'em up like R-Type or Gaiares.
I'm not a huge fan of side-scrolling shooter type games. I'm not very good at them. I always die in about 5 seconds flat. Plays quite well, it's nice and smooth. It's got very smooth scrolling, which I like. I don't like jerky frame rates in my games. I do like games to look smooth, so that's one good thing about the game. Not quite sure what it is you're supposed to be shooting at. They look like tulip heads to me.
I might as well start off by saying straight away, this game is mega hard. What makes this game harder? Everything. First up, the game's pace. The overall speed of the game is fine, but mix it with the parallax scrolling and warping effects can make for concentration nightmare. You just lose all visibility on the enemy's bullets flying at you.
Gaiares was released at a time when the shoot 'em up genre was really popular, and it seemed to get lost amongst the other games that were released at the time. The cover art was one of the things that always struck me about the game back in the day. It was a really nice piece of cover artwork. It was very Japanese. However, the US artwork is pretty awful. One of the main things about Gaiares was the power-up system, which allows you to steal weapons by firing an orb off to capture other enemy ships.
When it works, and when it doesn't, it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you're screwed. You just have to hang in there.
And the more ships of the same type you capture, the more powerful your weapon becomes.
You have to build up that bad boy for max power, and there is no mixing and matching. So again, we are back to that concentration issue.
Bosses are easily some of the most impressive bosses on the Mega Drive.
And then we have the bosses. Having problems with 8 levels of standard enemy never bodes well for me. So the bosses, well, you just have to play it for yourself to see.
They're huge, they're practically full of screen, they're really well animated, and they weren't really equalled until the likes of Thunder Force 4 came along.
It may sound like I hate this game, but that just isn't true. I want to play hard games, I want to be challenged, and if I'm paying good money, I want to have my money's worth of joypad bashing.
And would I've bought it back in the day? Probably not.
Overall, the game sounds and looks great. The Genesis yet again handles the sound amazingly well, and who would have guessed you could get all of those colours from the Genesis palette? Being one of the first 8 megabyte games really helps Gaiares pack that punch, and is a definite buy for shmup and Sega fans.